Well, we have one more night. It's Thursday night now, 11 o'clock. One more night of Saturday's Warrior performances, at least that Zach is in. He performed his last night is tomorrow night, Friday night. And the last night of the show so far, I mean, I guess they may open up more weeks, but so far, the last night is Saturday. And I hate to admit it, but I'll be so glad when it's over. I mean, I love watching it. There are some parts that I don't like. There's like 95% of it I love, but there's some things they've changed that I just don't like. But every part that Zach sings, I love. Um, anyway, today was it didn't seem very productive because I didn't get anything done with the flooring in our house. But what I did get is we went to Fountain Hills, let's see, and got a new vanity for our bathroom. Some guy on Craigslist was remodeling and had the perfect size that we wanted, and it looks much nicer than the one we're getting rid of. And he had a mirror that went with it, so we can get rid of this 6 foot mirror that we had and put a smaller one in. That'll give us some room for some shelves and things like that. And then brought that home, and I don't know if I said this, but our dryer had stopped working 4 or 5 days ago, and so we knew we needed one of those. And so my daughter-in-law got on Craigslist and started looking up dryers. And after about the fifth or sixth one, we found one, and I went and picked it up. Um, there was a guy like Ellsworth in Guadalupe, not too far, a guy named Jake, and I get there to go look at it, and I reach to shake his hand, and he says, "Oh, you're gonna have to shake this hand," and holds out his left hand. And I look at his right arm, and it looks like his whole forearm. I don't know if I can show you, but it looked like the whole forearm right there looked like a shark had taken a big chunk out of it. Not really teeth marks, but it was a lot of it was gone. And he said he didn't have much use in that. I go, "What happened?" And he said, motorcycle accident. And here I am thinking, I ride a motorcycle. My two boys ride motorcycles. And I said, what happened? And he told me that he was, I don't think he said he raced professionally, but he was in a lot of competitions. Okay. And he named some kind of competition. I don't know what it was, but he had a Honda, I don't even know, XBR, CRX, no, I don't, I was going to say CRV, but that's a car. But anyway, some kind of Honda, not a, anyway, sports bike. I think like a 1000 cc, 1100 or something like that. And he said how he used to love to do wheelies. And he said he was on one wheel more often than he was on two wheels and loved doing wheelies. And he rode and rode and rode all, very good rider. One Halloween, I think he said in 2008 or 2009, he was coming home from Payson. And I guess he got about 12 miles out of town. He was coming in, so he was 12 miles out still. And he was doing a wheelie, and he said he was doing 130 miles an hour. And was doing a wheelie. I can't wrap my head around why you would be doing that. But he got up to a curve sooner than I guess he realized, and put the tire down, or maybe he put the tire down and saw that he was coming up to a curve. Anyway, he didn't have time to adjust for a curve coming up. He's going 100 miles faster than the recommended speed on the curve, and hit like a berm, like a little lip, and went off the cliff. He said it was like, I don't know how far down, 50 feet down, but at 135 miles an hour. Anyway, he laid there with his femurs crushed and something in his arm, and no external, bleeding per se, nothing protruding, but his arm was swelled up, like 22 inches or something like that, full of blood, and they had to do all kinds of surgery. And he says there was just three things he was praying for. He was praying for someone to stop, give him some water, and a priesthood blessing. And I said, wow. So what happened? How'd you get rescued? He said, well, this guy named Reed Johnson, and he heard me call him for help. And I said, well, Reed Johnson, that name sounds very familiar. And he kept telling me the story. And I guess Reed was riding his bike, I think. I thought he said jogging, but it makes more sense that he was riding his bicycle out, Fountain Hills, maybe a little bit further on, and heard him calling for help. But he'd been laying there for 15 hours. So he said it was Halloween night around 10 o'clock. Wow. So he laid there till 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. No, 1. Wow. Unable to move and calling for help and wanting water and a priesthood blessing. And this guy named Reed Johnson comes up, hears him calling for help. And he says, what can I do? And he says, do you have any water? And he gave him some water, and he called for help. And he said, are you LDS? Are you Mormon? He said, yeah. And he said, can you give me a priesthood blessing? And he did. And by this time I said, I know who Reed Johnson is. Reed Johnson is in my stake, and I often work with him because I have my calling in the stake is my job, the thing that I do. For those of you that aren't Mormon, we have callings, jobs, positions, volunteer things, and I'm the stake technology specialist, and Reed Johnson he's an assistant clerk in the stake, and so we often do things at a stake level. And I said, well, I've got Reed's number right here. He says, do you really? I haven't talked to him for, 5 or 6 years. So I gave him his number. Anyway, it made me sick to my stomach. I'm sorry, this is going way over. Made me sick to my stomach to think of that guy laying there for 15 hours and knowing that my 2 boys ride those sports bikes. Anyway, life is precious. Anyway. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my family. Anyway, I'm going to go. Good night.